This is Inspirational Women, a weekly series shining the spotlight on female trailblazers making a true difference in our community. Once again, here is Kate Daniels.
Marilyn Milano is a Seattle-based vocalist and pianist with an especially big heart for animals and what they bring to our lives. Today, we get an important insight into how in this age, there is a new option or new opportunity for what that can mean in our lives.
Marilyn Milano, good morning. It certainly is wonderful to have you join us this morning.
Oh, well, thank you. It's wonderful to be here, and I appreciate your interest in what we're going to be talking about, so I'm excited.
I am as well, because this has been a learning experience for me, and I hope then it means that it's a learning experience for many others. That being that we're talking about a concept of a little dog, Jennie, who is, well, we call her, do we call her a robot?
You know, I think that they refer to her as a robotic dog, but of course, having seen videos and once you've met Jennie, very unrobot-like.
Exactly. It has such realistic qualities to her. Although that being said, to be completely open about how this originated, when I first read about this opportunity to consider a conversation, I was resistant, probably like I am somewhat with AI. I was thinking,
Yes.
oh, robotic, I don't know about this. And so, I think it's not unusual for us, maybe of a certain age or any age, to think, oh, I don't know if I want to go down that path. But I really think it's important to be open-minded and to really become more informed and then make a decision. And
Yes.
that's what you did invite me to do, because Tombot is the company that is the creator of Jennie, of this robotic little pup, and who is serving such great purpose. And Marilyn, your connection really goes back a number of years, doesn't it?
Yes. First of all, well, we'll talk about it in succession here, but
Yes.
I have always done a little bit of piano work in retirement communities. And then after COVID and my work changed, I began focusing more on piano, so was doing more in retirement communities. And about the time that Tombot came out, I looked at what the concept was about. I don't know how I got on their list or if I saw something on Facebook. I honestly don't know how I connected with it, but I saw this adorable robotic dog, and they talked about how lifelike and responsive it was, responsive to touch, responsive to voice. And I had some experience. I've had more since then, but I've had some experience playing music in these retirement communities, sometimes in the memory care center. Or in one case, I actually helped take care of a friend's mom. I took care of companionship. I'd go see her 2 or 3 times a week. I'd play piano for an hour, or I'd bring my own real dog over to visit. And she would often say to me, I wish I could have a dog. I want to have a dog. And my heart just broke, because dogs have been my life since I was about 2 years old. It's in my DNA. Dogs and music. About age 2, it all kicked in. And so I just knew that there was an opportunity somehow. If Tombot was creating a dog that would respond and be cute and serve that need. And the other thing that I will add is that I used to see, and still do, in some of these places, there will be an older person that's maybe holding their stuffed animal, or maybe holding a baby doll. And that stuffed animal or baby doll is bringing them comfort. It's like they want something to nurture and to cuddle, but how much more satisfying if it actually could interact. So that's how I got interested. And I've talked to people about it. I don't own anything in the company. I have made a small, tiny little investment, the lowest level you could make, because I saw potential. But I thought, even if I never get my tiny little investment back, I just believed in what they were doing.
Yes. And they are, I think, really doing well. It's moving along. And there's been, of course, as time advances, just that much more awareness and publicity about it, not the least of which is the growing number of persons who are dealing with Alzheimer's and dementia.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that factors into it as well. And
Yes.
so again, when I was first introduced to this, not a couple of weeks ago, I was thinking, again, this resistant to a robotic kind of situation. But again, when we consider some of the implications of living in a retirement community, many won't allow having live pets, right, Marilyn?
Well, that's true. Although I will say more are becoming amenable to that. But where you specifically get into tough situations is if the person is unable to care for a pet. So maybe they have dementia, maybe they don't. Maybe they have physical limitations that don't allow them to get up, feed and water their dog or cat, take it out for a walk or whatever. So yes, well, more communities are at least allowing pets. I know there are some that probably still do not. And even more pressing are those people that are simply unable to care for a pet due to physical or perhaps cognitive limitations.
Yes, which is obviously a huge factor. And then again, there's cost that comes with a living animal, the veterinary cost, the food and such. Yes. So there are a lot of factors where having a responsive pet that is robotic really can fit that bill and bring a lot of comfort.
I think so too. And I mean, anything that can make life a little happier. I mean, it's kind of a tough world we're in. I guess it's always been a tough world, but as I look back over my years, and I'm a boomer and everything, and I think, man, this is a tough time, and for so many. And so anything that brings smiles, anything that brings comfort, a little bit of joy and engagement. So many times if people are left alone, maybe their families aren't close by, maybe their families are disengaged, having something to engage with, having a being, to engage with can bring that person back to life. I mean, when I play music, people will often start singing a few of the words. And then as they're holding that little stuffed animal, I mean, it's almost heartbreaking because I can see that they're loving this little stuffed dog or this little doll, and they're remembering things. And these words are coming to them from some familiar songs. And so if there is a little creature that can interact and will respond and give them that love and that connection, I just don't see how anything but good can come from that.
Oh, yes, absolutely. That I think for me, there's nothing that seems quite as frightening as thinking of having a disease such as dementia, Alzheimer's. And I try to because there's been some history of that in my family. So it's always been kind of this thing at the back of my mind, like, what is going on? How would I deal with this? And it's heartbreaking to see it actually happening. And so to think about what will bring comfort to a person that's going through this. When my dad was struggling with that, I had a radio for him in his room so that he could be just listening to this classical music, which I felt was soothing and comforting.
Yes.
I'm trusting that. And you attest to that because you've done the work.
Well, and my father also suffered from dementia. And so he passed away in 2003. He started showing signs of cognitive decline a little bit before that. But then my mom just got to the point where she couldn't help him because he couldn't get in and out of the shower. She was too small to lift him. And unbeknownst to her, she was getting the beginnings of ovarian cancer, which she managed to beat for the next 8 years, which was pretty darn amazing. But she wasn't able to take care of my dad. So my dad went into a nice facility, as nice as those places can be. And I was still working full time. But I would go in at least once a week and I would just volunteer and play some music for the residents. And, they enjoyed that. And I mean, my dad loved dogs. And I just can't help but think that a dog like Jennie would have been such a comfort to him.
Yes. And that's the thing. The music is certainly a comfort. It's best when it is, I think, played live, as you have done. Yes. Secondarily, I guess if it's played on a radio or, having something done with CDs. But as you say, having something to hold and to comfort you and to have some response is definitely significant. I think even if a person didn't necessarily have dogs or cats in their life. There's just, as a child, they would have had some kind of toy or such that would have brought them comfort, right?
Yes, I mean, again, they say there are dog people, cat people, dog and cat people. Maybe there are fish and bird people. But I mean, before I ever had a dog, we got our first dog when I was 2, and then unfortunately he was stolen. But after that, we got a golden retriever. He lived to a ripe old age, and as I grew into adulthood, I've always had dogs. I have not been without dogs. This is aging myself, but I have not been without dogs in 50 years. So I've always had an animal companion. It was in my DNA. I say that. I think the music was in my DNA too, because I started pecking out little songs. My father was naturally musical. He played violin as a 14-year-old, no, maybe 17, I think, in the Spokane Symphony for a short time. He graduated from high school at 14, so he was a smart fella. And he loved music and he loved animals. And so again, I know the music brought him some joy, and I just can't help but think, because when you're dealing with people that have cognitive decline or physical restrictions, animals are very impractical. You've got the health issues, the person has to be able to clean up after them. You don't want to expose them to a dog or cat that has had an accident that sits there for too long. And again, I just think that he probably would have really loved a little Jennie dog like that. And I wish they'd had one back then, but that was over 20 years ago.
Yes, yes, and this is very current. I believe it's been somewhat in the works, the concept of it, for about 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think he said he started working on it in like 2017, and I'm not sure. His own mother, Tom Stevens, started the company, and his own mother had dementia, and it was very difficult to go through that with her, and that's what inspired him to try to create something that would make life better for these folks that are dealing with such a thing. So I don't know when the prototypes were drawn up exactly or when the company was formally launched, but yeah, 5 to 7 years or so ago was when it all started percolating.
And if someone listening would like to have more information about that, they can visit the website.
Right, tombot.com. And if you reach out, they do respond. So, I mean, they're looking for investors of all sizes, but they're also looking now to sell more of these dogs. And the more that they sell, the more that they can reach out and manufacture more. So I think the website's a great place to start, simply because you can go right there and get the facts. And also there are some endearing clips of Jennie that are just adorable. When you see this dog, I was like, oh, my doggy mama heart was like, that's so cute.
And that, yes, because, well, this is really telling, Marilyn. I did not have any pets as I grew up, and even well into my adulthood, I never did. And it was only about 15 or 16 years ago that we finally brought a dog into our life, and that was for practical reasons, because a neighbor had said, we'd had a number of break-ins, and a neighbor said they only had a break-in when they had not had a dog. So I said, okay, that's it. There it is. We need to have a dog for protection. And honestly, we never did have a break-in after that. But
Wow.
The thing was, at first I was, I'll say I was a tolerant person with this dog, but it made its way into my heart. I mean,
Yes.
it was just family. It was so important, and it was tragic when that dog got old, and I was very offended when we took her to the vet, and the vet called her an old lady. I could not believe you could call my dog that. But anyway, the point was, she was older, she was sick, and we had to put her to sleep, which was one of the hardest things I ever had to do for someone who didn't have an animal connection, years before. So there's such comfort that these creatures bring into our life, such consolation, such love, the unconditional love.
Yes. And, I can't quote specific studies because I'm not a scientist, but I keep coming across articles that talk about how the research is showing just the type of connections that our animals have with us. We're not being anthropomorphic when we say, they understand us or they love us, or, I've got 2 girls now, Fire and Kala. I got both of them when I lost my Betsy. in 2022 to congestive heart failure. I have now gone through losing 11 dogs in my adult life,
Wow.
and it is gut-wrenching. And on the flip side of that, for the past 20 years, I have been a volunteer for Seattle Animal Shelter's Pet Loss Support Group. It started as a live group, and then we went to the Zoom format when COVID hit, and we kept it with Zoom because more people could attend that way. They didn't have to drive into Seattle at 5:30 on a weeknight. But having lost several before I started doing this, I felt that I could relate to people who have been going through it. And so, yes, many people say it was even harder than losing a human. And when people raise their eyebrows like, what? Well, that dog is probably, or cat, is probably with you all day, all night, you know, if you're at home, or at least most of the day when you're there from work and such. And then as the animals get older, a lot of times we are in a caregiving mode, much like we are with people. We're administering medications, we're dealing with more vet doctor appointments, and it becomes a real honor, but a very difficult and heartbreaking part of that journey when we are taking care of them and we know that the end is coming. And conversely, if the animals die suddenly, sometimes that can be worse. I've talked to people over 20 years who've lost them suddenly, who've lost them over a long haul, and it hurts, but that's because we have that bond. And I mean, on another note, perhaps an elderly person that's by themselves, it would be difficult to lose their beloved pet.
Mhm.
And one thing about Jennie is that they won't have to say goodbye.
Yes, I was thinking the very same thing. When a person is not well in these later years, and whether they are dealing with dementia or not, but to have that kind of a hit would just be so traumatic for them, I feel. So
Yes.
having a robotic pup like Jennie would certainly be something that would just be there for comfort, you know, until the very end, till their last breath.
Yes, and Jennie is adorable. I mean, she is an I would like be oohing and eyeing, you know, and I'm the kind of person that stops to talk to people and their dogs at the coffee shop when they're sitting outside or on the walk. And probably people think, well, what's with her? Is she going to try to sell me some insurance product or something? It's like, no, I just legitimately like animals. And you know, I'm a dog person. Not that I don't like kitty cats or other animals, but the dog is my heart animal. And so, yeah, I mean, it would be hard. And if they had the comfort of that animal up until their last days, I think that is a benefit. I mean, I was just that thought kind of came to me as we were talking that, you know, they wouldn't have to say goodbye to her.
Yes, which I think is something to really consider, given the options. And here
Yes.
we do have the options. And with Jennie, the video of her is just really great to seeing the history and the construction, because it's not awkward. She really feels quite realistic with the
Yes.
movements and with the sounds and such, and the feel. I mean, they've given her a lovely coat.
Yes. Yes. And the little puppy faces, you know, I don't know if you've seen any of the little AI dogs on Facebook that have popped up recently. There's one named Bobo and one named Coco, and there are others. And I, also being a boomer, I'm not terribly technologically brilliant at all. So I kind of run away from AI and that sort of thing myself. But they've done a bang up job. This is, and I look at it in those cases, it's like, well, people that create animated films or, you know, it's like the cutest version of a cartoon or comic book animal, but they're sweet and people fall in love with them. And I mean, so that to me says that there are many people out there that are receptive. And if something is cute and lovable, whether it is a cartoon, an AI generated dog, in the best case scenario, a real dog, if you can have one, or cat, but certainly a little buddy like Jennie. I mean, I think there's a great future, and more people are living longer. And as we live longer, we have more issues with cognitive stuff and physical stuff. And how wonderful to know that we could have a little companion that, if it's not the real thing, it's going to still bring us some joy.
Yes. And having the responsiveness of it is, I think, just a touch more than having, like, holding a doll or holding a stuffed animal, which
Yes.
is cute. But this added level, I think, has the possibility. I mean, there hasn't been the research on it, but having more of a responsiveness, I think, can really help a person to maintain their connections for a longer period.
Yes, and to feel better because, I think there's nothing worse whether you have a cognitive decline or not. It's very hard. Loneliness is an epidemic, according to everything that I read. And it's not just older people, it's many people. But I think it's very hard to not feel connected. I think it is easy for some people to shut down, to feel that the people around them, maybe if they're in a facility, no matter how well they're being treated, they feel the people are doing their job. Nobody really cares, though. I don't have family anymore, or they're far away. And to have something that's their own. And I mean, I've seen these people just holding the stuffed dogs or the dolls, and they're showing those little stuffed inanimate beings love. And I'm like, imagine if you're petting it and it looks at you with puppy eyes. Oh my gosh, it's just the sweetest thing ever.
Yes, absolutely. And I think we just are learning more and more as time goes on, which of course should be expected. But I think of my mother-in-law who was suffering with dementia in her last couple of years. And she did have a cat, a stuffed cat that she liked to cuddle. But I think if it had been more responsive, that again, that would have really made her days just feel a little bit brighter.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And I mean, again, I'm playing in some of these places. On the one hand, I feel like, I'm helping bring some smiles. And on the other hand, if you have even a shred of empathy, you're going to feel for these folks and you're going to feel some of what they might be feeling, or at least you're understanding it. And I mean, anything to make life a little more joyful, to have a few more smiles, to have something that brings engagement. Otherwise, I think it's easier for people to tune out.
Yes. Oh, yes. I think that's always the danger of being in a facility where there isn't perhaps enough staff around, which often is the case too, is to become so isolated that if there had been some kind of stimulation, this person's life could just be that much better. Ounces of more care and attention.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, I really, we're all heading that direction in terms of getting older. Hopefully, we're not all heading the direction of losing cognitive function, but we don't really know. And I mean, people can have a brain injury. People can have an illness, like maybe their mind is working fine, but their body's not. And so anything to make that better. And as an animal person, anything connected with animals. I mean, okay, I have 2 live dogs that sleep on the bed with me, but I also have a stuffed sloth. I mean, and it's very comforting because sometimes the dogs are like, okay, Mom, you're suffocating me. And they get down. Well, then I have my stuffed sloth that I can hold. And there's just a lot there. And I was so thrilled to see that they were doing this research and to see that this was being worked on. Apparently, they do have orders. I mean, it's moving along, and it's hard to believe that it's been several years, but these things take time. And I'm so excited. I'm really hoping it becomes very mainstream and is just the beginning of a direction that is going to bring more happiness and engagement to more people.
Well, I am hoping that is so too. I'm going to use myself as that example who thought, oh no, too much robotic stuff going on. Yes. But, we can't throw out that proverbial baby with the bathwater. There are good things that are happening that are really beneficial for us. So it warrants at least doing some research, some investigation. Let's mention the website again, Marilyn.
Yes, it's Tombot, TOMBOT.com. And the founder is Tom Stevens. There is a lot of information about Tombot. Again, if people want to get more involved with the company, that's fine. If they're interested in ordering, I know at one point they were looking for connections to retirement communities so that they could talk to them about this. So what I like to do when I find something that I feel is useful and helpful, I like to share it with people because I just feel like more people should know about this. I mean, if I didn't know about it, certainly plenty of others didn't. To that end, I do a little radio show myself on a small station, Alternative Talk 1150, and it's about pets and their people, but it's also about wildlife and such. And I'm doing it to give back. I do that show so that I can help share information. There's a lot people didn't know. They didn't know that pets could suffocate in chip bags. They didn't know about new products that were out to maybe help a blind dog navigate. I like sharing information to make things better for people that love their animals and for those animals. And I'm just motivated by that. And that's why I wanted to also talk about Jennie and Tombot.
And I am so grateful that you reached out to share this information, Marilyn. And now to listen to your show, Do you have links on your website, or should people look at the podcast through 1150?
I think the best thing to do is simply, and again, this is coming from kind of a technical neophyte, but if you type in, the name of the show is Love Has Many Faces. And if you type in Love Has Many Faces podcast in your search bar, it will come up in Apple or Spotify. And then if you have a place that you love to get your podcasts, again, you can type that in and it will come up. I know I've tried it before I would tell anybody that. I wanted to make sure that I was doing that. Now, of course, the show is on the air on Tuesdays from 9 to 9:30 Pacific time. And you can also listen online. And again, being on the AM band, Alternative Talk 1150 is an AM station, it's a little bit limited in terms of coverage. The I-5 corridor is pretty good, but a lot of people also like to listen on their own time. So the beauty of the podcast is that they're always up there. And I think that's great. And again, I did one about the sloths. There were the sloths, many that died in Florida due to mishandling when they were trying to open a tourist attraction. It broke my heart because I'm a sloth nerd. We've done things to help shelters. And again, it's sharing information. If two people hear something and do something about it, if one person, you just don't know the effect that doing something is going to have. And so I just feel putting it out there, putting out the stories, putting out the positive energy, putting out things that help people. It can't help but do some good, at least.
Absolutely. Putting out the positive energy and just believing in the power of one. Do something, and you're definitely a great example of that. And before we wrap up, I'd like to have you share your website address too, just because I'd love people to know about the music that you're performing and the work that you do.
Oh, well, thank you. So my website is a fairly simple website, and I mean, it could probably use some high-tech touches. However, we did fix up that front page. And so now on my homepage, there are examples of me playing the piano, and I talk about the music I do, what my style is like. You can actually hear what I do. I also write original material, although I don't think I share any of that on that homepage. But I like to say my style is kind of a cross between Sting, Elton John, and George Winston. I don't know. That's pretty eclectic. But my website, if you want to visit and check out what I'm doing there, is marilynmilano.net. So MarilynMilano.net. So Milano is like the cookie. So MarilynMilano.net. And yes, I'm always interested in performing at events if there's an opportunity. That's part of what I do now. And would love to talk to anybody who has a need for a musician whose style, is in the same wheelhouse as what I do. So that'd be great. I'd love for people to visit. And I mean, above all, I love music. I love animals. I'm driven to try to help in the way that I can. I can't write giant checks, so I can share information. I can share time. Sometime we'll talk again. I've got stories of how doing one little thing made a huge difference. It wound up getting someone introduced to her husband. She married him and had 3 kids. One little tiny step. So can't always guarantee that, but there are stories out there.
There are. And that sounds really delightful, Marilyn. Thank you so greatly for bringing this to my attention. So now we're bringing it to a broader attention. And again, with the hope that it's only going to make life better for at least one person, but hopefully for a great many.
I hope so too. And thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity. It was lovely talking with you.
Thank you for being here this morning to meet these special people, Washington State residents, doing their part to make life just a little bit better for each of us. Please check the station's website for the podcasts for more information about these guests, and please share the stories with your family and friends. I'm Kate Daniels. If you'd like to connect with me, please send me an email, katedaniels@hubbardradio.com. And I leave you with this thought. I am only one, but I am one. I cannot do everything, but I can do something. And I will not let what I cannot do interfere with what I can do.
Thank you for listening to Inspirational Women. Tune in every Sunday morning at this time to hear about those truly empowering the Northwest community, all for the greater good. Sunday Morning Magazine and Inspirational Women are a public service of Hubbard Radio Seattle.